Ghana's inflation eased for the fifth consecutive month in August 2024, falling to a 29-month low of 20.4%, down from 20.9% in July. The slowdown was driven by deflation in key food categories, while non-food inflation rose slightly. Despite the decline, inflation remains well above the central bank's target range of 6 to 10%. This deceleration, coupled with the relative stability of the cedi, has raised expectations of an interest rate cut at the upcoming Bank of Ghana Monetary Policy Committee meeting. The economy continues to navigate one of its worst crises in decades with ongoing debt restructuring efforts. Financial market analyst Patrick Abankwa joins me for this. Thank you, Patrick, for joining me today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, let me begin with this. When will the media stop describing Ghana as an economy that continues to navigate one of its worst crises in decades? I mean, are you
I think the call for media to maybe stop calling Ghana in that sense is not going to stop anytime soon, because considering the fact that pre-2020, we had inflation in the region of the single digits. We had around 9%, 10% inflation. We rose up to about 54% in 2022. So until we get back to the same position of less than 10% inflation, with the currency cedi appreciating against major currencies, we are still going to have this challenge, because that has led to hardship in the country in terms of cost of living. So until some of these things get to a stable nature, even this year alone, the Ghana cedi has depreciated against the dollar of close to about 20%. That means that things are still not as they used to be. And for me, these are the critical factors that the economic managers should look at before perhaps the call for us to get back to their old ways will stop.
Well, that image we have on the screen right now gives us a pictorial, pictorial reference of the disinflation we're seeing in Ghana. So I'd like you to talk to us about the factors that contributed to this. I mean, we can see the 5 months going down. That's interesting, and we're probably looking forward to having it go even lower.
Yeah, so the factors that led to the inflation rising are about 4 to 5 factors in Ghana. The first one has to do with our currency, that's cedi, depreciating over 50% last year, 2023. As we speak, I said that we've already depreciated around 20%. Depreciation of the cedi has a major component of inflation in Ghana. So whenever the cedi is not performing well, that means that it translates to the price of goods and services. Currently, we have inflation in the region of about 20% on the last count. But when you look at the cedi to a dollar, somewhere around December 2022, a cedi to a dollar was around 8 cedis to a dollar. As we speak, it's around 16 cedis to a dollar. That is a major factor that has contributed to the growth for inflation that we are seeing. The second thing that we also have to look at has to do with the challenges that as a country are facing with our supply chain. There are a number of items that we still import as a country which have been affected by the global hardship and challenges with the supply chain of some commodities. And these are the drivers of the inflation in the country that we find ourselves. Look at issues relating to grains. Most of the grains that we use in this country are imported. And whenever the cedi depreciates, it means that the prices of these grains coming down is quite high. Then two, when globally factors are also not favorable for these items to be imported into Ghana, that also leads to a bit of hardship. The third one also has to do with issues relating to exchange rates and also interest rates in this country. Currently, we have interest rate for most loans in this country around the region of 39%. That leads to high cost of input for these producers who are able to bring items for the consumer to use. And if the cost of input, which has a factor of interest rate going up, it also leads to inflation. So for me, these are some of the factors that have led to our inflation rising all the way to about 54 and now dropping to the 20 that we see today.
Okay, so I am interested in the 20 that we see today. So I'd like you to run us through factors that are responsible for the disinflation we have seen so far for 5 months, and specifically for August. What are the factors driving what we saw in August? We're seeing that food prices, decelerated, but then when we look at, non-food prices, those ones were, trending higher. What's responsible for that? And we also saw some level of stability in the cedi, and I think that's also a good one. Talk to us about the past month that is, of course, in review, which is August.
Yeah, so we look at the inflation for August, we saw the cedi as you are showing on the screen, relatively stable for between July and August. And that's one of the factors that has led to the depreciation of the cedi slowing down a bit. If you look at the margins between July and August, it's not that huge. It was about, I think, 20.9 and now 20.4. So it means that there hasn't been major changes within the space. Again, July, August, traditionally, is a period where we see inflation stabilizing because the hit that comes with inflation for most part of the year, you see them slowing down between June, July, August. Then it's expected to peak in September, October, because most traders will now have to go and pick items for the Christmas season. And that's where you begin to see pressure on the cedi again. So when you see the cedi and inflation stabilizing within this time of the year, usually if you look at historical records, this is the standard, because activities in terms of import are not high as the beginning of the year and later part of the year. So for me, these are the reasons why we have seen a slight decline in inflation between July and August, as you rightly said.
Well, as interesting and inspiring as this news is, the disinflation, it's a far cry from the Bank of Ghana's target band of 6 to 10%. But we know this is good progress if you ask a lot of persons. So how soon do you think Ghana will be able to achieve this, staying within that band?
I don't think that we'll be able to achieve that this year. This year, the projection from Bank of Ghana to get it to between 6 to 10, for me, was a far-fetched target. I think the factors that we were looking at to be able to get to that point was that they wanted the cedi to stabilize more, but we have still seen the cedi depreciating more and more. So if this target is supposed to be achieved, then we should be looking at somewhere next year where things will stabilize after the election in December. Then if there's a new government in place, usually you see that things begin to stabilize, because as we speak, most people who are into import are also not very certain because of the uncertainties that come with election. So business and activities have also slowed down a bit. Most of the business are now taking the position of let's wait and see. And these are all factors that have led to what we are seeing today. So I don't think the target can be achieved this year. We should give ourselves maybe a year's time. If all things being equal, the factors we are seeing continue to prevail, then we'll be able to get to the target of 6 to 10 as targeted by Bank of Ghana.
Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts talking about inflation in Ghana. That's something we want to keep our eye on to see, beyond the fact that non-food items are contributing significantly to the prices of goods and services in Ghana. We also want to see what the government is doing, how the government plans to, deal with all of this. And of course, the debt restructure, which of course is also one big burden on Ghana. It's something we hope that it will be dealt with, and we'll be fine again. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and for being a part of Business Edge. This is all we have for you today.